Over the past few years, AI has shaken up the architecture and interior design profession. Not in the sense that it designs buildings and interiors for us, well, some people will be using it in that sense, but in how quickly we can move from an idea to something visual. What used to take hours of modeling, rendering, exporting, refining can now happen in minutes. And that shift is especially powerful in the early design phase. When ideas need to flow, when clients need to see something visual to react to, when you don't want to commit to heavy 3D modeling just yet, AI has shortened the distance between concept and communication, from idea to visualization. And at this point, it's becoming a key tool that needs to be part of your workflow. In this video, I'll show you how Rayon's built-in AI panel has changed my workflow. And more specifically, I'll show you how to take a simple 2D floor plan and turn it into a rendered 3D axonometric view, styled, refined, and presentation ready. So before we get into it, if you want to follow along or try this workflow for yourself, there's a link in the description where you can create a free Rayon account. Let's get into it. I'll be working inside Rayon, an all-in-one drawing and presentation tool, which means that AI sits directly inside the design workflow, not as a separate experiment. There's no need to export your drawings into any other software, it all happens here. So before we talk about AI, we need to build the floor plan. So to build the floor plan, we're going to first import a DWG that's going to give us a base to which we can start building the floor plan from. Head to the top left corner, click import, head down to DWG. Of course, select the file that you want to drop into your model. And you'll see here you'll have various different options. We're going to toggle these all off for now. We've got a shell floor plan here, which you can click import and it will come in at a 1:1 scale. Now you can see here you can select certain elements. They've come in as kind of fills and lines, but we're going to start drawing over these to start building the floor plan in Rayon. And you can see here, just by measuring this element, you can see that it's come in at a 1:1 scale. It's 1.1 meters for that door. Okay, to start building on this floor plan, we're going to first head over to our layers, which you can see here. We're going to create a new layer called walls. And then you can head to the bottom here and click your wall tool, to which you can start drawing some walls here. We're going to change this style because it's coming as a kind of concrete. You can drag and kind of extend the thickness of the wall, or you can type it in on the right hand side here. We're going to change this fill to, we're just going to change it to a solid fill. And at this point, you can add any color you wish. I'm going to keep it as this kind of light gray at this point and change the stroke slightly to make it a little bit stronger. Now you can do the same across your drawing with the different wall thicknesses. You can adjust certain elements, and you can see here that when you head over to the right hand side, you can change your alignment so it's on the left hand side centered or the right hand side. And we're just going to draw this ever so quickly to get the floor plan going. Now you can select all of these elements, and if you want to build a style out of those components which have the same thickness, it has the same color and weight to them, you can select all of those components, click Save Style on the right hand side, and we're just going to save that as a 0.1 wall, which you can see here is now a saved style. Now the next stage is going to be start applying some openings. The first one we're going to add is a door, but of course you can add windows, doors, and you'll notice that Rayon's block library has thousands of blocks and hundreds of window options to choose from. And you'll see here you'll get a vast library of various different options that you can import into your model. We're going to choose a pretty basic door, which you can see you can drop into place and you can flip and mirror it and position it as you please. Likewise with windows, you can see here you can drop that into place, and we're just going to mirror that and copy that over because we want that to match on that facade. And now you can see that we have some openings worked into the floor plan. A clean 2D base is what makes the 3D translation believable, so it's really important to have your floor plan as a strong base. Now the next step is going to start using the block library to add furniture into the floor plan. And you can see here I've spent a little bit of time just cleaning up this floor plan, making it graphically a little bit stronger, adding some more openings with kind of pocket doors and some more windows into the space. Now in order to find all of the blocks that are available, the thousands of blocks that are available to you, head over to the left hand side here and you can search for many different types of blocks as you scroll down here. You could do dining room blocks. We could head back and kind of look for any type of block that you're looking for really. Alternatively, you can look for blocks individually. So you can click the block item here, we can say double bed, and we can find one of these elements. We can then select that component and simply click import or insert, or you can drag it into place. In this case, we're just going to drop it as an insert. And you'll see that each block actually comes with 3 different views. You've got a top down, you've got a front, and you've got a side view. So in the case that you're working between elevations and sections, you can simply select your block on the right hand side, you can change to a front view, you can change to a side view, and this is really useful to make sure your drawings read between one another when working on multiple drawing types. Now we can just work into the floor plan a little bit more. We have this sofa that we've just dropped in, and we can add a little carpet with someone sat on the sofa. And you can see here that these are all blocks that have been imported and used from the block library. And you can select into certain elements. You can then start kind of positioning and arranging your floor plan as you wish to make sure the floor plan is working. And so in this case, I think we've got a really quite nice floor plan here now. We've got the bedroom in the top right corner, bedroom in the top left corner, with your living space and kitchen in that bottom left hand side. Now the next piece to this drawing is going to be starting adding some zones. And the beauty of the zones is that you can then calculate certain areas, so a square meter of a certain room. But you can also apply finishes, so you can apply a floor finish. You can then drop a zone into place, and you'll see here that it has an automatic tag to which you can select the element. You can change the name to bathroom, for example. And then you can also select your fill, and you can change your hatch. In this case, you can see here, I've just fast forwarded a touch, and you can see all the different styles that I've added to this floor plan. So you can add a timber finish, you can add a stone finish, you can add a tile finish, however you would like to kind of show the material context in your drawings. In this case, we're applying a very faint gray, which will just add a kind of soft and subtle material context to the drawing. And then if you want to add a parametric block, you can head to the top left corner here. Now, parametric block works really well in that you can then start adjusting and essentially scaling and kind of contracting your components without distorting the material geometry. So things extend or kind of widen or shorten. Now you can find those in the block library again. And the best way to find these is to head to the block library. You can then search for a parametric block. And you can see in the top left corner, you'll get this kind of little parametric icon, which is how you can identify if it's a parametric block. Now I'm just going to take this meeting table as an example. You'll see that it has these kind of toggles, which, as you can see here, as I extend it, this is actually adding more chairs, and it's adding multiple more seats. And then if you extend the width, you're extending the width without breaking any of the geometry. Likewise with this sofa here, you can see that I'm extending, pushing and pulling the sofa without breaking any of the elements. And this is really powerful, really useful if you want to amend any of those blocks. And even at this stage, the furniture helps anchor scale. It's really important. It's almost like a design tool that will help you adjust scale in your drawings. Now comes the interesting part. Instead of exporting this floor plan now into another tool to start 3D modeling, building geometry from scratch, applying materials manually, etc., we can let the AI interpret the drawing and prompt it as we wish. So the AI panel lives directly inside the canvas. The AI panel has many tools such as generating CAD blocks from images, generating mood boards from a floor plan, and stylizing your drawings, just to name a few. There are plenty of tools here that we can use in this AI panel. Now, fast forward a little bit further, and we've got some kind of dimensions and kind of tags on this drawing. You can see here that just helps communicate some of the detail of the drawing, but in this case, it's not too important. What I want to show you here is just how we can use this AI panel. Now, if I head to the left-hand side, you can see the AI panel here, and you've got two options. You can either add a file or add a screenshot. And this is really great if you want to use either a file that you have previously in your PC and you want to load that in, or if you have a model like this, for example, and you can just grab a screenshot of it. Now you can see here, you can grab that screenshot. You can then use this tool at the bottom, which have all your different options, as I've just explained. Now the one we want to select is generate axonometric, and voila, it creates something like this, which is really quite compelling and beautiful and quick. It gives us a kind of idea of the three-dimensional quality of the space, the arrangement and organization of the space. And we can then insert that image into our presentation, and we can then build that as part of our presentation. And so what we're going to do is we're going to prompt it further to make shadows stronger. So at this point, we have some subtle shadows in there, but there's nothing wrong with making a shadow a little bit more stronger and more contrast in the drawing. So if we make shadows stronger, you'll see here then it will generate an element with some stronger shadows. which is really, really nice. This is becoming a quite nice drawing. And as you can see here, literally within seconds, we have a 3D interpretation of a 2D plan. This isn't replacing architectural thinking, it's accelerating visualization. It's helping us visualize the space in 3 dimensions. The next thing is going to be to style it, so you can add your own graphic touch to the visual. So the way you can style it is simply using the same tool set. So if you head to your kind of prompts, you can then select reuse image, so we can reuse that image if we'd like to. You can click then the tools and go to style. Now I really like the clay model style in this, in Rayon. It works really beautifully as a really strong drawing. So you can see here, the clay model comes out really strong. And then alternatively, if you wanted to work on an elevation or something more flat in the sense of a section or elevation, we can also then prompt it with using a screenshot from this elevation. In this sake, we're then going to apply some kind of finish. So we're going to apply a concrete finish to this elevation and see how it will kind of respond to this. And then we can also style it to a render. So it will hopefully come through as a realistic render with some concrete finish to it. You can see here, now that is pretty strong, but you can then also prompt the material further. In this case, maybe the concrete isn't quite as concretey as we'd like. This kind of looks like some kind of timber battens on the front here, but we can then prompt it further, maybe using an image that we have. So you can then prompt it, so you can apply the concrete finish. We've selected the file, we've then clicked the image, and we're reusing that, and we're prompting it with an additional file, and you can see here now we've got a full concrete finish, which is strong. There's a lot of concrete here, but you can see how very quickly you can turn an idea or a quite flat 2D drawing into something very graphic and visual to help clients kind of understand the materiality and the context of these drawings. And you can prompt that further. You could change that then to a stone finish if you'd like, using the same kind of finish. As you can see here, we can apply this stone finish. And then if we prompt that again, you can see here it will apply a stone finish to the elevation. And the reason why importing certain supply materials is great is because instead of guessing textures, we can actually test real materials instantly and apply them to your visuals. Now, alternatively, you can also then create a 3D axonometric view from this image, which I think these kind of axos are really beautiful as a kind of diagrammatic tool to communicate the building in its own entity with the kind of small bit of context surrounding. And this is really quite compelling to show the kind of roof and the geometry and the overall form of the building. And of course you can rework this and re-prompt it, but you can see how quickly you can generate something 3-dimensional to accompany your drawings and be part of your presentation. Now, just to show you how we can then also apply some materiality to our floor plan in our kind of 3D floor plan, you can see here that you can then prompt it to apply a timber finish, which will then add a timber floor finish to the drawing. And you can see here that it's generally adds some finishes across the floor plan, which works quite nicely. And then you can also, for example, prompt it to make that timber darker. And you can see here that it will make it a bit darker, to which you can see here that it's still quite strong and compelling, and you can adjust and prompt those drawings as you wish. And then we're just going to drop those images into our canvas. So you can see here now our kind of different explorations alongside one another and the evolution of that drawing. And you can see here that what would normally take hours to render, you can literally create in minutes, in seconds. And of course, these visuals are only useful if you can present them clearly alongside your floor plan and build a bit of a presentation. It's really simple in that you click the plus button, we then create a paper canvas. So the way that it works in Rayon is that you've got model canvases where you draw, you have your floor plans, your sections, etc. And then you have your paper canvas, which is where you create views into that model canvas. So if you create your paper canvas, we can just call it presentation. We're going to create a page, which you can then do here by clicking the plus button. Head down to, I'm going to change it to A3 or A1. You can then kind of scale it up and down and customize it as you please. We're going to bring in a title block from the Rayon block library. So if we head down here, we're going to head down to title blocks and annotations, and we're just going to look for a title block that we want to apply to the floor plan, which we can drag in. As you can see here, this is a title block that is already pre-made, and you can also click into it and start making some changes. For example, we can change our drawing number, we can change the scale, we can change the date, etc. You can add all of the detail in that you require as part of your title block. And And then the next move is going to be adding in the view into our model canvas. So you can see here when you drop in your view, you can then change and adjust the scale. So we can add in a drawing at 1:50 or 1:100, and then we can scale and crop this down so that we're kind of happy with how it's composed on the page. I'm just going to drag and drop this into place, click new, we'll go down to another view, and we're going to create another view into the AI generated images, the 3D view, and have it now alongside our presentation. We can then start adding some text, so you can use the text tool at the bottom. We can then type in some text, so we're just going to call this apartment axonometric, to which we can then change the hierarchy on the right hand side. We're just going to make this title a bit stronger with a 0.5 bold, and then we can also add some body text below, which we can just make a touch softer. And you can also adjust and amend the color of that text. You can change the font style, the font size, etc. All of the things that you can work into it. And if we fast forward now, you can start seeing how these pages start to compose themselves with all our views and text and title blocks, and how you can start building a full drawing set, a full document set for your presentations. And we can then bring in that 3D view that we've created, and we can scale and get that into place so it works alongside it. And then all of a sudden we have a full presentation here with floor plans, sections, elevations, slightly more zoomed in floor plans. We've got then axonometrics that are generated through the AI panel. And you can see here that now you can start building a full presentation set, a full document that really communicates all of these different ideas and all of these different areas of your projects. And this is done all within Rayon. This is literally from start to finish, all in one software. And because everything lives in one environment, the drawing, the AI visuals, and the layouts all stay connected. All of the drawings are now connected and composed in one space. And this is where Rayon can become really collaborative and where you can work really strongly as a team. And the way that you can work as a team, you can invite your team members into this model. You can also share it as a public link with kind of people that you want to share the model with. If you head up to the top right hand corner here, you can click share, and you'll see here that you've got lots of different options. You've got access, libraries, templates, presentations. And just as a demonstration, I'll show you here, you can then open up a presentation link so you can share this with someone if you wish, and you can flick through here all of the different drawings that you have. And then you can also invite team members into the model, so you can then invite them as either an editor, a viewer, etc. And you can just click invite here. And then once they're invited and they have access to the model, you can then add comments from the comment bar on the left hand side here. Love this axo, for example. And then all of your team members will be able to see these comments, and you can comment and react and share to those comments as well. And so instead of exporting your drawings out of your models, you can share a live link so people can use it and view it actively, which means that stakeholders can always see the latest version because it updates as you work. The key thing here isn't that AI makes things look cool, it removes the friction from the early visualization. You can explore more options, test more materials, communicate ideas faster. Speed doesn't mean cutting corners, it means working smarter with a more connected workflow. If you want to try this workflow yourself, there's a link in the description to create a free Rayon account and access the files used in this tutorial. Explore it, test it on your own projects, and see how much faster your early stage visualization becomes. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.